Marinaro, the Sick Podcast on this Monday, November 3rd. The Canadiens not in action today. They practiced earlier today, but they were in action a couple of nights ago on Saturday night when they took on a conference opponent, a division opponent, a rival considering the proximity. And the Montreal Canadiens and the Ottawa Senators, if you haven't figured it out in the last 12 years or so, they don't like each other. And you also saw that before the season started with a preseason game in Quebec City where the gloves were dropped on more than one occasion and a cheap shot from Nick Cousins to Ivan Demidov. This was the first time the Canadiens were going to be playing versus Nick Cousins since that slash to Demidov, and he had to answer the bell, and it was Jayden Struble who challenged him. Speaking of challenging, Curtis McDermott challenged Arbor Jackeye, but he said, no thanks, just take a look at the scoreboard. We'll talk about that. Lane Hutson and Ivan Demidov did their thing to tie the game up with about 2.5 minutes left in regulation. And, of course, the Canadiens won in overtime. Your hero was Alex Newhook. Samuel Montembeault got the start and goal. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't easy, but it didn't matter. He needed to get the win, and the win he did. Earlier today at practice, a couple of changes to the lines. Gallagher moves from his line to another line, and Joe Veleno moves from his line to another line. What lines are that? We'll discuss that. And also Mike Matheson, his utilization. Once again, the most used Montreal Canadiens player on Saturday night. Time on ice is unbelievable. His average so far is about 25 minutes. We'll discuss it all with a regular on Mondays. Eric Engels of Sportsnet.ca. He's coming up.
It's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sink. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sink.
Playing on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick Podcast, your #1 sports destination.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sink. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sink.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K, 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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sink.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to Lafleur.
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the ball!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Coupe Stanley pour les Canadiens. Le 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs! And all together, they worked the young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup!
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. La Vida Tibi. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination. It's gonna be sick.
Marinaro, the Sick Podcast on this Monday, November 3rd. Sick Podcast brought to you in part by Bittt, the TV. Look at that fridge right behind me. They launched their new Ultra Lager, refreshing, thirst-quenching beer, perfect for those cool fall days with only 90 calories, 2 grams of carbs, 4% ABV per can, available in a pack of 6 and 12 in grocery stores all around the province of Quebec. It's ultra light and it's ultra refreshing. Also want to give a shout out, of course, to one of our major sponsors, which is Energy Transportation Group, a leading asset-light 3PL that's driven to be different. From cross-border freight between Canada, USA, and Mexico to coast-to-coast shipping in both Canada and the United States, Energy moves it all fast, reliable, powered by tech that delivers smarter logistics. If you need a real partner in transportation, contact the team at sick@shipenergy.com and see how Energy Transportation Group is changing the freight game. Also brought to you in part by another major sponsor, Playground. All one word. You haven't really played poker until you've played at Playground. Voted Fan Choice Best Poker Room at the 2025 Global Poker Awards. Enjoy free drinks at every table, free food at all cash games and daily tournaments, plus the biggest events in the game like the World Poker Tour and World Series of Poker Circuit. And don't miss your shot at the world record Bat-Beat Jackpot, closing in at $1 million minutes from downtown Montreal across the Mercier Bridge. This is Playground. The Montreal Canadiens victorious on Saturday night versus the Ottawa Senators by a score of 4-3 in overtime. The Canadiens got out to a lead. The game had everything, really. It was a game that had absolutely everything. Of course, the Canadiens get out to that 2-0 lead. And, Caulfield and Suzuki, they're the architects of that first goal because they cause a turnover. Caulfield gets a stick on it first. Suzuki gets a stick on it next. And then Suzuki gives it to Caulfield, springs him free on a breakaway. And you see the way Cole Caulfield scored that goal? Like he saw the opening, he saw the 5-hole, and a quick shot right away. And boom, it found its way. And this year is one of those years, more so than any other year, that everything that Caulfield touches just turns to gold. He takes shots that if it's coming off the stick of another player, it's not going in. But when he shoots it, it finds a way. Like not only on Saturday night, I'll give you another example. Like when he banked it off of Joey Decord in Seattle, it's another player. The puck's probably not going in. Also, the same thing, like on the other hand, for example, Drake Batherson of the Ottawa Senators, who scored a goal to narrow the lead, the Canadiens' lead to 2-1. He banked it off of Montembeault. He had a really good week. He was one of the 3 stars of the week. But unfortunately for him, he had a real bad ending of the game because his pass was a giveaway straight to the stick of Alex Newhook. And a big hit from Bolduc on Jake Sanderson. Curtis McDermott took exception. He wasn't happy. And he did what he had to do. He's like, you want to touch one of our better players? Mind you, it was a completely clean hit. But I don't know when this happened in the National Hockey League, but at one point it happened. It's like you're not even allowed to hit players clean anymore. It's like, I don't know what's going on. You're just not allowed to hit players clean. Anyway, he hits him, and he goes into the bench. And at that point, what happens is Curtis McDermott goes right after Bolduc, goes right after him. And Bolduc kind of moves out of the way right away, and then he jumps on top of him. And Arbor Jackeye, I don't know if people saw this, but Jackeye from the bench is going to get a hand, like he's trying to hold back McDermott, and probably who knows what he's saying to him at that point. And the camera went straight to Stéphane Robida, who's actually like trying to contain Jackeye, saying, don't do anything stupid here, because you know what? He was probably worried that Jackeye was going to throw a punch or whatever. And then he was trying to calm him down too, saying, calm down, relax. What does Curtis McDermott do? He grabs a penalty. The Canadiens go on the power play. And it was a power play that had, of course, Lane Hutson and Demidov with Suzuki, Caulfield, and Slafkovsky. The passing play that happened went from Demidov to Caulfield, from Caulfield to Suzuki, right by the side of the net. And this is important. And Suzuki makes a backhanded pass to Slafkovsky, who just taps it into a wide open side there. And it's important that the reason why I say it's important is because where Caulfield delivered the pass is where Suzuki has set up over the last little while. And where Suzuki delivered that pass is where Caulfield has set up. So you see that the players, they're moving their feet, they're moving around, they're changing positions. It makes them a lot less predictable. I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, I think this Canadiens power play now, and the power play they're going to have in about 5 years from now, maybe even 10 years from now, assuming that, of course, they'll re-sign Suzuki at the end of his contract. I think it could be the best Montreal Canadiens. I'm convinced. I'm going to say that it's the best Montreal. It is and will be the best Montreal Canadiens power play since the power play that they had in the late 70s. I mean, I don't have their stats available to me right now as to what they did in 85 or 86 when they won the Stanley Cup. I would imagine they had a pretty decent power play with the likes of a Gaston Gingras or a Robinson or a Chris Chelios or a Matt Naslin or a Bobby Smith. I would imagine they had a pretty good power play. We know they had a good power play when Guy Carbonneau was coaching this team, and they had Kostitsyn and Kovalev, and they had Plekanec, and you know, the list goes on, and Markov. But I think this has the potential to be an amazing, amazing power play. It already is. The way they passed the puck around on Saturday night, I'm telling you, it looked like we were watching like the Harlem Globetrotters play the Washington Generals. It was that good. It was unbelievable. And then the Ottawa Senators, they stunned the Canadiens a little bit. They stormed back with 3 straight goals. And, you know, this team isn't perfect. They have a record of 9-3. They got 18 points. They're doing amazing. But I don't know if they played a 60-minute game all season. Maybe the game versus Toronto, the closest they came, which is only normal, right? Because they're the youngest team in the National Hockey League, so they're not going to be perfect. But obviously, they have lapses in concentration. That 2-goal lead, Patrick Roy even talked about it with the New York Islanders. He said, you know, 2-goal lead nowadays, a 2-0 lead is no longer safe in the National Hockey League, and we've heard that before. And anyway, so they scored. But now, what do the Canadiens do? As is, it's happened very often this season that the Canadiens are either trailing and they'll come back in a game, or they actually have a lead, they blow the lead, but then they're able to dig down deep inside. And sometimes it's their talent that makes the difference. And it was their talent that made the difference on Saturday night, because it was a bang play between Ivan Demidov and Lane Hutson with about 2.5 minutes to go in regulation. Anyway, you know who's going to talk about it? Eric Engels is coming up.
Eric Engels, presented by Allard et Aimont, experts in heating, air conditioning, and ventilation since 1977.
Eric Engels, for nearly 50 years, Allard et Aimont has set the standard for HVAC service in Montreal. Their focus is simple: unmatched quality and dependable comfort for your home. Visit allardaimont.com to learn more. Allard et Aimont, experts in heating, air conditioning, and ventilation since 1977.
My problem is I can't hear you. So if you give me 1 second, I'm going to work this out.
Yeah, we're going to get to Eric in just a second. It'll give me an opportunity actually to talk to you about Point S and GT Radio offering you the chance to win. Listen to this. The chance to win a new set of GT Radial winter tires, plus free installation at a Point S garage, a total value of $1,000. In order to participate, go to the Sick Podcast Instagram page and like and comment on the pinned post. Step 2, follow the Sick Podcast and Point S on Instagram. The contest ends November 16. Point S, your trusted garage for complete vehicle care. We're trying to fix whatever problems we have with Eric. I've been told that we got it done. All right, okay. Big win by the Canadiens on Saturday night. I talked about it. Obviously, you know what? They blew a 2-0
I'm changing colors every 2 seconds here.
Yeah, I know. But he's not sick, folks. A 2-0 lead, 3-2 for the Ottawa Senators. And then Hutson and Ivan Demidov do their thing again. Eric, we know that they room together on the road. We know that they're both hockey junkies. We know they talk hockey all the time. We know that they're on the ice together all the time. Hutson, as was the case earlier today, at practice more often than not. He's the first one on the ice among Montreal Canadiens players. And we also know that in the summer, they stuck around Montreal for the most part, and they were on the ice once a day, sometimes twice a day. And Demidov was even playing in that 3v3 league. But it seems like, the more they're talking to each other and the more they're playing with each other, the more they know where each other is going to be at all times. And they also see the game the same way. They're not easy players to play with, because if you don't think the game like them, they might put the puck in an area for you that you might not be in that you should. But it's never a problem when they play with each other, because they both see the game the exact same way. And what a play that was. What a great bang play. The way they found each other was awesome.
They're both masters of deception and manipulation. And they're the types of players that if you go at them, they're really going to make you pay. And they're the types of players that will go at you and create circumstances under which they can manipulate you. There was a shift in the second period before we got to the magical one in the third that led to them scoring the tying goal, where Hutson broke the zone, and whichever man was stuck covering him, I almost felt bad for it, because he cut back 3 or 4 times, and by the end of it, the guy who was covering him was just exhausted. And then he threw a saucer pass over to Doc, who had a good chance to come in, a lot of space to come in and make a move towards the net, right? These two guys, you're right, they think the game the same way, Hutson and Demidov. And they manipulate players the same way. And so it's easy for them to understand what the other is going to do. And we're just the very beginning of watching them make magic together. They're going to be doing a lot of it over the next few years. But, when you talk about that predictability factor between the two of them, you can pick out different duos and different combinations throughout the entire Montreal Canadiens team where we're seeing more and more of this. The whole top line, they're all simpatico. There's something in sync about them. Matheson and Dobson, there's something completely in sync about them. But then take it outside the little combinations and bring it to the whole team. The Canadiens are 9-3-0. You're right, Tony. I heard what you said at the beginning. They haven't been perfect this year, right? There's times where they have a lead.
Okay. It's only normal.
They're protecting at it. They're young. It's all normal. But what they have been to get to 9-3-0 is connected. And when you play a connected brand of hockey, you become predictable to your teammates. And when you are predictable to your teammates, the game becomes a lot easier to play. I spoke to Hutson about this today. I spoke to Mike Matheson for a piece that I put out on sportsnet.ca. You and I were talking a little earlier in the day, but by the time this airs, it'll be out there. This whole collective game that's come together for the Canadiens based on the continuity of their group and like one of the things Matheson said to me is like, this is the longest I've ever played for the same coaching staff. It's 4 years. It's the 4th year I'm with them. The longest I had ever previously gone with another coaching staff was 2 years. So not just the continuity of knowing what to expect from those guys, but the message being so precisely the same over and over again certainly has helped bring all these components together. So there's some magical combinations we're seeing, but on the over, we're seeing a team that's become so predictable to each other that they can adapt to any type of situation. It's, I think it's the biggest reason for the success so far.
Well, when you talk about combinations, I mean, there's more than one combination there, but that goal on the power play that went from Demidov to Caulfield to Suzuki to Slavkovsky. I mean, that looked like the Harlem Globetrotters versus the Washington Generals. That was an unbelievable goal. And
what do you see when you see that, though? You see 5 guys with one brain, right?
Yes.
Marty talked about that very early when he first came in, about what would make a power play successful. And obviously familiarity is the biggest factor, right? Like, you look at the Tampa power play, that is always the kind of the go-to example of a dynamic, dangerous power play from so many different angles. And the familiarity of, Kucherov and Stamkos being lined up across from each other, and you'd see a one-timer pass go to Kucherov. And normally, if somebody else was playing with him on opposite him, they'd charge the net hoping for a rebound. But Stamkos would go to the boards knowing if Kucherov misses, we're going to keep this going. Like, there's certain, when 5 guys think all connected in the same way, that's the most dangerous thing you could have on the, like, Demidov is dangerous as hell. Suzuki is dangerous as hell. Caulfield, Slavkovsky is dangerous as hell, and so is Hutson.
You know what's the most amazing thing about their power play? Is that we know that there's a lot of players that have a lot of talent on this team, right? And we know that one of the things on the game plan that some teams are going to have that probably can't match talent going forward is going to be to probably take liberties with some of these players, right? Even though they realize that the Canadiens are a group that is standing up for each other now, right? Having said that, you're going to have to think twice about taking a penalty against the Montreal Canadiens now, because if you do, more often than not, I mean, they're going to end up scoring goals on you. I mean, their power play since the 23rd of October in the last 10 days is unbelievable.
It's like 70% or something.
Something. It's absolutely unbelievable. It was 67% before the game versus the Ottawa Senators.
It's dangerous.
Now, I got to tell you this. Something that my colleague, Alexis Lavoie-Martel at Master Control on my French podcast, Monday to Friday at 10 a.m., all on the same YouTube channel. If you have a chance to watch, if you haven't watched already, watch, support. I think it's very, very strong on content. And by the way, tomorrow morning, on Tuesday morning, I can tell you that Philadelphia Flyers' Danielle Briere will be my guest on Le Sick Podcast.
Nice.
Yes, it's a pretty good one.
And he's the man.
Great guy. So Alexis Lavoie-Martel brought up something this morning. Did that power play goal remind you of a power play goal that you saw last year?
Not off the top of my head, so go ahead.
The goal was scored in the month of February.
Okay.
The goal was scored at the Bell Center.
Okay.
The Crosby backhand pass to McKinnon at the start of the Four Nations?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, very similar goal. Very similar goal.
It's like,
so Suzuki's making Crosby type passes, number one.
Yeah,
number two.
A play like that doesn't work, Tony, unless all the guys are on the same page. That's how stuff like that works.
Of course.
And it starts with one breakdown. Demidov creates the one breakdown. The very first pass that's made forces the Senators to start chasing. And once you're chasing, you're never in a good spot.
There's no doubt about it. And I thought that was such an amazing goal. So once again, Caulfield opened up the scoring with the first one. Then Curtis McDermott takes exception, wants to go after Bolduc, who hit Jake Sanderson into the bench. Once again, I talked about it that Stéphane Robida had to contain Arbor Jackeye from the bench. McDermott takes the penalty. The Canadiens score on the power play. What did you think of McDermott inviting Arbor Jackeye to dance and Jackeye saying, yeah, thanks, but no thanks. I have nothing to gain. A, you don't know how to play hockey. B, you know what? I don't need to. We're up by a score of 2-0. And by the way, if you didn't know that we're up by a score of 2-0, I'll just remind you, just take one quick look at the score.
I didn't like that. I did not like him pointing at the scoreboard. It reminded me of the game against Toronto last year. I liked him turning away from McDermott. I didn't like the way it ended with him pointing at the scoreboard, because last year they were up 3-0 against the Leafs. He did that with Reeves, and they lost the game, if I'm not mistaken. So I would have thought that would not be in his repertoire anymore. But I like the decision in general. That's nitpicking.
Yeah, you don't need to give the other team extra motivation. You're right about that. But he showed a certain discipline that probably we hadn't seen before.
Come
I'm
on.
not going to say we hadn't seen
It's
before.
been
But
baked in for a long time with Jack Guy. He's no longer straight up playing on his emotions. Like, he's pretty balanced out there.
yeah. Now, what I'm trying to get at is you and I know that he probably would have liked to have danced, but he recognized the situation and said, I got nothing to gain here. And nor does the team have anything to gain here. So, okay, Samuel Montembeault, that was a decision that a lot of people talking a couple of days ago. Marty St. who usually names his starter, I think the day before the game, 2 days before the game, he told us that it was going to be Samuel Montembeault 2 days before and said, hey guys, Montembeault, it's going to be Montembeault. You could stop talking about it now, all that stuff. He gets the win, but it was 3 goals on 17 shots. What did you think of his night's work on Saturday night?
I thought he was playing great until 2 horrible bounces went against him, and it's impossible, given his circumstances, the way the beginning of his season has started, for that to not be playing in your head going into the third period. Like, impossible. Not a single one of us, if we were among the best goalies or just among the 32 or 64 best goalies in the world, would not have had that playing through our heads where, we had 9 days essentially between starts. All the talk is about Dobish this and Montembeault's bad. And, you come into the game, you're playing a great game. You're on top of it. Montembeault had a really good start. Like, he really looked sharp. He was engaged. Every next shot, that was the one he was focused on. And, like, the first goal, great defensive play, and Struvel's trying to clear it out, and he moves it to the side, which is what you want him to do, and it ends up on Matheson's stick for a tap-in into the shelf. What's Montembeault going to do on that? Nothing. The second one, he's interfered with. It's a goal that, based on the way it's been called in the past, I understand why it came off, why it came back on the board after it was taken off.
Yeah.
But I'm surprised that it went that way. I'm not saying it shouldn't have gone that way, but the way it's been called in the past, Gyro goes into the crease by himself. Nobody puts him there. It's his responsibility to leave the crease without interfering with the goaltender. He gets pushed over the side by Matheson and by Montembeault. He has an opportunity to exit on the right side of the crease. He decides to skate right back through the left side and stays in the crease. Montembeault has enough time to get his toe on a shot that's redirected. A really good save, by the way, considering the circumstances. And it bounces off Matheson and goes in the net. It's called off the board and goes back on the board with 11 seconds left in the period. Think about the mental screw job that is for a goalie who has not played well since the beginning of the season. Here's what I like, Tony. You know what Montembeault said after the game? Oh, wait, are you there?
No, yeah, I am. I'm listening to you.
You know what he said after the game?
No.
He said, it sucked in the moment, but I had to come back in the room and give off the body language to the guys that it didn't mean anything and that, we're going to go keep fighting and we're going to go win this game. He's a team player. He's a team guy. He had every reason to feel dejected and sorry for himself, but he did what was best for the team in the moment. And yes, did he allow a goal that he shouldn't have allowed to Tim Stützle in the third period? Yes, but the mental circumstances of what happened in the lead up to that goal make it normal that he'd be shrinking a bit.
Well, yeah. Okay? Listen,
I'm not excusing it. He's got to find his best self, but
he's fighting the puck. Let's put the cards on the table.
But he wasn't fighting it before those 2 bounces. Not even a little.
Yeah.
So, yes, he fought the puck in the third period, and there's a reason he did. But what I like is that he showed up in the room for his teammates, and they showed up for him on the ice, and it proves exactly what I'm saying. They're connected. They are all team players.
Yeah.
They are playing a team game that is enabling it. This record is not a fluke. It is not they have a weaker schedule, so they're doing well, and they're overtime merchants because they've won 5 of their games. They're a connected team. They play like a team in these games where everyone's nitpicking about they can't hold on to a lead. They should be up 4-5-0. The way they're playing in each of these games, they should be up 4-5-0.
Yeah. So, by the way, I don't think, I think a lot of reasons could be true, by the way, of them having the record that they have. There's no doubt they have a good team. I don't think they have an easy schedule. Anytime you open up your season in Toronto, to play them versus in their opener. And then the next night play Detroit in their opener. And then a couple nights after that play Chicago in their opener, 3 games in 4 nights. And then you also go on a West Coast trip where you play in Calgary. And the next night you play in Edmonton. Then a couple nights later you play in Vancouver. That's 3 games in 4 nights with time changes. And then you end up playing in Seattle a couple nights after that, which is 4 games in 7 nights with time changes as well and altitude. I don't think that's an easy schedule, by the way. Like, I really don't, because a lot of people that say that that's an easy schedule looked at the schedule before the season started, and no one thought the Canadiens were going to be 9-3. So if it was an easy schedule, everyone would have said the Canadiens are going to be 9-3. It's not an easy schedule. Now, are they winning games in overtime? Yes. Are they winning games 3-on-3? Yes. Are they amazing 3-on-3? Yes. Do they have 3-on-3 players? Yes. Do I think they have more of a regular season team right now as we speak than a playoff team in terms of the rules and everything? Yes. But that doesn't matter. I mean, it's early. They know what they need. They know what they have to change, and they're going to get there. So,
Listen, I just don't think there's a lot to take away from them. You know, it's so easy to – there are plenty of teams – with a strength of schedule like the one that they've had so far, which is admittedly not the hardest one they could possibly have.
Yeah.
They're doing what good teams are supposed to do under those circumstances, which is take advantage of it and win your games. And the games where, like, there is a big difference. The bottom line is they've had an opportunity to open up. They should have been up 3-1, if not 4-0 after 2 periods last game. That's what the score should have been. If you are putting yourself in that position night after night, which they have, like they've been able to open up huge leads in almost out of 12 games, how many of them would you say that about? Well, like a lot of them. 8, 9?
Yeah.
So, yeah, okay. If things get hairy, a goal gets scored, they end up having to tie games late, win them in overtime. They're still doing it. Like, they're still scoring that late goal. They're still tying. They're still winning the game. Have they blown some leads? Yes. Like, there's 2 teams on the ice. I'm not – it's not all perfect. There's stuff to work on. But considering how connected they are at this stage of the season, they're going to get better as they go along.
Of course.
They'll lose more games too. Some bounces are going to go the wrong way, or they're not going to score the late goal, or they're going to have to come back because they didn't get a lead. Like, it's going to happen. There's a lot of good teams in the league, but can't take stuff away from them so far. They deserve the record that they have.
Sick Podcast, one of our partners, Accent Insurance Solutions. You know, all insurance isn't created equal. You know where to find the right solution for you. Accent Insurance. Accent doesn't sell insurance. They shop insurance for you to find the right product right on the money. Whatever your insurance needs, home, automobile, or business, visit their website, www.accentassurance.com. Call 514-363-3636 is the number to call. Who do you have tomorrow night, Canadiens or the Flyers? Go all the way with Betway. Get a deposit matchup bonus up to $300 on your first deposit. Scan the QR code on the screen or click on the link in the details section to create an account, redeem your welcome offer. Offers only available for new customers. Terms and conditions apply. Offers not available in Ontario. Must be 18 years of age and older. And please play responsibly. Eric, you wrote about Mike Matheson. Talk to me about him.
Well, what's the number one thing that comes to mind about Mike Matheson when you watch him play over the last few years?
The number one thing that comes to mind, Mike Matheson, number one thing. Unbelievable skater, great bang for your buck at $4.5 million per season, has unbelievable cardio, plays about 25 minutes per game, is relied on the penalty kill big time.
What comes to everybody else's mind, Tony, when they think about Mike Matheson over the last few seasons?
I don't know.
Well, you're mentioning all the good stuff. What's the other stuff?
That he handles the puck too much and then ends up turning over the puck.
Risk reward calculation, right?
Giveaway machine, some people call him.
Mm-hmm.
We used to call him.
Where's that conversation gone since the beginning of the season?
It's not there this season.
It's non-existent, right?
No one talked about it a couple of years before that either, when he picked up 62 points because he picked up 62 points.
It was minus 24.
Yeah. But a lot of people talked about it last year.
Yeah.
But you know what, Eric? It's like I thought I thought it was unjustified last year. But even if there was some merit to it, I mean, players' seasons go up and down all the time. I mean, what's the problem?
There was merit to it, but here's the thing. We always look at individual players in a vacuum, and hockey's a team game. And some of the mistakes that Mike made last year, the egregious ones that had everybody ripping their hair out, including Mike himself, was extremely hard on himself. He will take all the responsibility for that. But part of the responsibility is on his teammates and where they put themselves in different situations to make themselves available to give him the better options to use. And also the circumstances of where he finds himself on the ice and for how long he's there before one of those mistakes pops up. So what's different this year? Because it sure as hell is not the ice time. He's playing 24-53, I think.
Yes.
25-07 or 05 last year, or 03, whatever it was. Everybody said, oh, Dobson's coming in. They're finally going to put Matheson in the right chair, and he's not going to play as much, and then the mistakes will be less. Nope, it's not the ice time. Is the role changed? No, not the role. He's playing against the best players every night. He's playing 2 minutes at a time on the penalty kill. He's not getting any power play time. He's starting 87% of his shifts outside the offensive zone. So that hasn't changed. So what's really changed? Well, Matheson's risk-reward calculation is certainly a little stronger. But I think the big change is he doesn't have to calculate that much because he knows where his teammates are going to be most of the time. The Canadiens' collective game, where Marty always says the individuals will shine if the collective is strong, is a huge change. And I'm not trying to take credit away from Mike because I don't think that much has changed between the way he was playing last year and the way he's playing this year. I thought he was great for most of the time last year. I thought when he got in trouble, the Canadiens are chasing the puck around their own end a lot, and they're not giving him good enough options, and he's thinking too much about it and making the wrong calculation. So it's never just about the player himself. But man, there is a lot to like about the way the individual is playing, but the way it fits with the collective is everything here. Because nothing else has really changed. It's just that the team is playing so much more predictably around him that he doesn't have to make a risk-reward calculation. He can play on his instincts quickly.
Yeah.
So I think that's really a big thing.
Dobson's been great for him too.
So that was the other thing, and he's acknowledged it. Look, I think you want to look at a really telling stat. The Canadiens, in general, are spending a lot less time in their own zone. Okay? Why? Because they
have puck-moving defensemen.
Yes, but their focus on suppressing play up the ice is a huge factor. You know where Mike Matheson ranks in the NHL in stopping plays in the neutral zone before they get to the defensive zone?
Tell me.
First overall in the league.
Wow.
He's 8th in the league in killing plays before another one is made in the defensive zone by the offensive team. And yes, he deserves credit for those things, okay? His game is that. But a defenseman can't step up in the neutral zone without great back pressure from the forwards. A defenseman can't step up in the neutral zone without a partner next to him who is predictable and reliable. A defenseman cannot kill plays in his own end and make aggressive plays without layers of back pressure and that extra safety valve behind him, whether it's the goalie or obviously Dobson. So there's a combination of Matheson and the team both playing really well. And it just goes back to the stuff about last year. The mistakes that he was making were egregious.
Yeah.
They didn't just belong to him. Sometimes they did. And he says himself, never going to be 100% perfect because the game is a game of mistakes. There's a mistake on every single shift, essentially. So there's not, you're never going to be perfect. He's 31. He's been in the league. This is his 11th season or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Never going to be perfect at it, and no player really is. But man, he was really good last year, except for when you saw these egregious mistakes happen and it was all on him when it's not really all on him. And he's been really good this year, and the team has been that much better.
Eric, let's hear from Marty St. on how Matheson and Dobson kill plays.
Well, I think we, as a group, I think we set the table better for that, so they can anticipate better. And both players are going to do it differently. You know, the way Matty kills play is not necessarily the same way the way Dauber kills play. They have different assets, but you know they execute the objective, and that's, you know, so to me, what we talk about a lot with our player is what's the objective versus you need to do it this way. Do you know what I mean? So to me, we pound the objective, you know, and then we try to hammer the details inside of that. And not every player is going to do it the same way, but the objective has to remain the same.
There you have it. Okay, we hammer the objective. And he also talked about the fact that, you know, they kill plays a different way. Very important point, because they do kill plays a different way, Eric.
Yeah, Matheson's a bit more aggressive, and his skating enables him to be. Like, Dobson is a good skater, but he's not as elite of a skater as Matheson is. And so he relies a little bit more on his stick than Matheson would. You watch Matheson in a practice, man, his intensity in the battles for the puck is higher, as high, if not higher, than anybody else on the ice. This guy cares so much about what he's doing, not just in games, but in every practice with every repetition. He's a great story. The way he's playing, I didn't want to take anything away from him just by sharing some credit with the team. It's the whole point is the predictability factor of what's going on around him enables him to think a lot less about what he's doing and just do it. And a player like him, able to rely on what is an elite instinct and ability, makes the Canadiens a lot better. Like, this pairing is one of the best pairings in the league so far, and there's a number of reasons why that's the case. Their focus on shutting plays down before chaos ensues in their own zone, they're executing on it. When Marty talks about their objective, that's the objective. That's the objective of the entire team, is to play defenses, like he likes to put it, as soon as you lose the puck, you're on defense, not in your own zone. And the more you can kill plays before they get to your own zone or deep into your own zone, the better and more frequently you're going to play offense. And the Canadiens have a lot of players that will enable them to play offense, like especially on the back end.
Let's hear from Marty on the team's play off the puck.
About something specific in your messaging that's enabling them to really be in the right spots a lot.
I think the only thing that's specific is the consistency of the message. You know, we talk about the play off the puck all the time, you know, and we don't know what the guy with the puck is going to do every time, but he's got great options. And now it's for him to know ABC, right? But I think it's the consistent message and all the examples we show. There's not one way to break the puck out, but there's one way to be positioned collectively to raise our percentages, to execute.
All right, there you have it. Marty St. Louis on the play off the puck. What do you take out of that, Eric?
Well, what I took out of it was kind of a departure from what Lane Hutson was saying to me today. And I asked him just like how much easier it's been as a defenseman to be able to go off that instinct, not have to think about what you're doing with the puck because everyone's in the right spot. He said it's night and day from what it was last year. And he said one of the biggest things is because the guys are so well positioned, when a team adjusts against the Canadiens on their breakout, the Canadiens are able to counter that very quickly by going with option B and C, like Marty was just talking about.
Mm-hmm.
The level of predictability is so high that they're able to adjust now on the fly. And it's just, you know, I guess you look at the team in general and you just think to yourself, they're growing up. Again, you know, we say the same things.
In front of our eyes.
They've blown a couple leads. They're not perfect. This is a trend in their game that they would like to fix. But holy shit, like the more often you're in a spot where you have the lead, you'll get better at protecting it. And the Canadiens are often in a spot where they have the lead. What I think would be a better focus for them than how to maintain their lead or how to, is how to extend their lead, because they're just not capitalizing on the chances that would enable them to do it. Hutson misses a penalty shot last game and he was kicking himself knowing like golden opportunity, next goal matters so much.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, who was it? Newhook who crushed the post.
Yes. Hit the post. Yeah.
One of those two shots goes in and we're
different game maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, of course it's a different game. And you can say this about like all the games. You look at these first periods they're playing and even some of the set, like there were some second periods that were wonky a couple of weeks ago. Their second periods have been much better in the last week or so.
Yes.
They're not, I see this a lot on social media. They took their foot off that. They're not taking their foot off the gas in the third period. They're trying to, and they're not being told to take their foot off the gas. So like Marty was asked by Alex Gascon of Radio Canada on Saturday about how to properly manage the game late. And I even had Marty clarify, like a lot of people will take what you're saying about managing the puck in different situations as like you telling the team to like ease off. And he's like, no, absolutely not.
Coaches never do that. Players just end up, it's a what do you call it? It's a natural thing to do. You take a look at the clock and all of a sudden you say, okay, you know what? Let me stop forcing plays. Let me stop attacking because you know what? And you're playing with the clock. There's no coach order to tell you to do that. It's just.
But what Marty wants is for the team to attack. He wants them to attack and possess. He knows that from 200 feet away, it's going to be a lot harder for the other team to score goals and catch up. And he said himself, it's not like I don't want the team to create scoring opportunities. I want them to be selective about when they're going to move the puck south from below the goal line. If they see that they're pushing it into traffic and we're starting a 3-on-2 rush the other way, that's not a play you can make when you're up 3-2 late in the game and you're trying to win. What you want to do is possess it and keep it behind their goal line and wait for the opportunity where there is an opening to move the puck south and then create from there. It's all about managing things and being smart and calculated about when you're going to assume risk and attack. He wants the Canadiens to have the puck, possess it, and attack. But he wants them to be more selective about how they attack when they're up in different situations, which doesn't make him different than any other coach. And it certainly does not mean he's saying, well, we've already scored enough goals, so take it easy. That's not the message at all.
Last week, I said something to you like Alex Newhook is in year 3 of a 4-year contract, $2.9 million a season. At the end of his contract, he'll be a 26-year-old RFA. But, because a lot of people think that the Canadiens need to go out and get bigger and get stronger and add different types of player to their team, his status on the team going forward is not unanimous within the fan base. And you said something to the effect of that you think that Newhook potentially could be here for several more years. He's played great hockey, Eric. He was the hero on Saturday night, scoring the game-winning goal. Let's hear from Marty St. talk about Newhook and setting the standard.
I mean, that's something he's harped on since he's been here, since I've been here for sure, is that collective game and how we play as a group of 5, and I think he coaches that really well. I think we're connected in all areas, in all zones, I think, which is impressive at this point of the year, I think, and something I think we need to keep those standards high, but he's been for sure the catalyst in setting those expectations and making sure we're all on the same page and kind of being able to grow that game as a part of our kind of energy here.
And obviously it helps everybody, but when you have 2 guys like Dobson and Matheson who move the puck so well, to be able to present them those options by being connected so that their first play could be the one that they choose to make, how critical is that and that getting the best out of those 2 players?
Yeah, it's great. I think that kind of goes for everyone. If you know kind of where everyone's going to be at in most situations, it makes it easier to make reads off each other. It makes it easier to have an automatic first look and for guys to be there all the time. So yeah, for sure, it helps guys like that. I think it helps everyone.
So pardon me, not on Marty St. Louis talking about Newhook creating the standard, but Newhook actually talking about Marty St. Louis setting the standard. So pardon me, quick correction on that one, Eric.
Yeah, okay. So that's just, it's a good extension of the stuff you and I were talking about earlier. And obviously, stuff that I was asking about in the locker room to build the piece that I was building on Matheson today. Let's talk about Newhook, man. Like, that's why I said what I said last week. When you see the way he's playing and how effective he is on both sides of the puck and both ends of the rink, the assumption that just because they have a somewhat smaller core and that he's, on the fringe of it, that when his contract expires and he'll still be a restricted free agent at that point, there won't be, he might be one of those guys they look to move at that point, or that like this guy is proving he's an important piece of this team. And he's only proving it more since we last had that conversation. And I think with the way he's playing, he could have chemistry with just about anybody. He's so responsible backtracking. He is so aggressive without the puck that when it's on his stick, he can do some things that really help you win games. And you have to give him credit. Like, he's evolved a lot. Marty gave him a lot. You teed up what were potentially a couple of Marty quotes, and he spoke in French today because he was asked a couple of questions about Newhook, giving the player credit for, he got power play taken away from him and got put on the penalty kill and was essentially put in more of a defensive role. And it's somehow freed him up more offensively. But you have to give the player credit for accepting that at this stage of his career. He's still young and has, he was drafted as a player because of his offensive ability. And I think Newhook, instead of looking at it as like, I have to be one and not the other, has kind of approached it in a way of, if I am this way, it will lead to me being better in this department. And you're just seeing a much more complete player. This is the type of player that, for me, on a Stanley Cup contending team, if he's your third line center playing that way, I'm in.
Is he a center?
Well, look, I understand that Kapanen takes the responsibility on the right side of the ice and Newhook takes the responsibility on the left side of the ice. But because of Newhook's speed, he's often the one tracking back first through the middle of the ice. He's often the one who will have to play down low in his own zone. He's often the one who, even with his speed, manages to be the first forechecker in like more of a winger position. So that versatility, whether you want to call him the third line center or third line winger, when the time comes and this team is positioned to truly contend, which is looking like it could be a lot sooner than it will be later, that's a really valuable type of player who is that, to borrow the French term, polyvalent.
It's an interesting conversation because a lot of people think that Oliver Kapanen could end up being that third line center. But I think what you're trying to say is it doesn't really matter who's at center because both can play center, both can play wing. And it's not because one's not playing center that he can't do a lot of the stuff that the centerman does.
It's just the way the game is now. The game now and the way it goes with all five guys almost implicated in all three zones, it's where you are on the ice at any given time when the puck gets turned over that dictates what position you're playing. So Newhook has the ability to play both, and he's playing both exceptionally well through the beginning of the season. It's early, but we've seen signs of this. Like, there have been different signs throughout the years, and now we're seeing a more complete profile of a player that with his role designated, he's excelling.
In ending, we'll touch on this. There were changes to the lines earlier today at practice. Let's show the Montreal Canadiens lines. Suzuki with Slavkovsky on his right and Caulfield on his left. That doesn't change. Kapanen with Demidov on his right, Newhook on his left. That doesn't change. Doc has Bolduc on his left. That doesn't change. But he'll have Brendan Gallagher on his right instead of Joe Veleno. So Gallagher moves up with Doc and Bolduc, and Veleno will play with Evans and Anderson. On defense, same thing. Matheson, Dobson, Struble, Hutson, Jack-Eye, Carrier. There's also a tweet that we can show you regarding Josh Anderson and Jake Evans' production. Mind you, they're not expected to produce. Let's be honest with the amount of time they're getting, who they're playing, and what their assignments are. But it from a offensive standpoint, it's been difficult. Anderson with 2 points in 12 games, the same for Jake Evans. But Eric, this makes sense to me. They've given Doc a little bit more. They've given Bolduc a little bit more. Brendan Gallagher deserves to be on offensive line. Joe Veleno has not produced much at all. And I think he would be probably he's the guy that's going to end up playing with Anderson and Evans. I have no problem with it. It makes sense to me, Eric. Usually they don't change lines usually after a win, but this makes sense, Eric. I think anyway.
Well, I don't think they'd be making the change if they didn't recognize the direct style of play that Veleno has and the offense that Gallagher could potentially help produce with Bolduc and Doc, right? Like the line has worked pretty well at the start of the season. The other one where you're looking at Anderson and Evans's numbers was certainly affected by 5 games with Patrick Laine, where it's not so much that Laine wasn't playing well enough or they weren't playing well. It's just the fit is not conducive to.
No, there was no chemistry.
All 3 of them doing the best things that they're capable of doing. I think Evans has been playing really good hockey. I think Anderson has been playing really good hockey since they were put on the line with Gallagher. Offensively, haven't necessarily finished some of the chances they've created. There's been a lot of them, but there can be more. I think Veleno's direct style makes this a possible switch to make. Like it makes it make sense because he's not going to be out of place on that line.
And by the way, good for him for dropping the gloves, even though it's not his thing on Saturday night. He definitely, I'm sure he already had the respect of his teammates and the coaching staff, but they appreciated the fact that Clevin lined up Alex Carrier and Joe Veleno, no hesitation whatsoever. Joked about it earlier today. Said, yeah, well, I could probably use a little bit of practice in that regard, but there's no doubt that was, he scored some points in that one there.
He scored some points from his teammates for sure. I mean, he gave up quite a bit of height and about 25 pounds. Clevin's 6'5", Veleno's 6'1". 225-pound heavyweight, and a guy who plays one of the few guys on the Ottawa blue line who really plays a physical, demanding, exacting style, and you saw it on that hit. Those 2 guys, Veleno and Struble.
Yeah.
Of course they scored points with their teammates, but what they just did was provide another example of how much this is a team. Like this is a team. These guys, this is why they're 9-3. It's not because they're so great in overtime. It's not because the power play is amazing. There's talent and there's skill and depth. They're a team. They play for each other, and that goes a really long way in hockey. Yeah. Like that's the most important thing that you can possibly have in hockey.
Eric, an ending. Who's your starting goalie tomorrow night for the Canadiens versus the Flyers?
Dobish,
your starter tomorrow night?
Yep. I think Montembeault will have to work his way back towards challenging for the starting position, but until that happens, he's in at best a 50-50 split scenario. I think Dobish has earned the right to come right back into the net after sitting for one. He's undefeated so far on the season. And if he continues to play the way he's played, he's going to give the Canadiens the best chance of winning the game. So you keep Montembeault ready, you keep him working, and you stimulate the competition that's ensued. I don't think it's a hard decision, but we'll find out what the coach decides in the morning.
Thank you, Eric. We'll talk to you soon, my man. Cheers.
My pleasure. Take care, guys.
All right. Special thanks to all of our sponsors. Energy Transportation Group is one. Bittt at Tibi is another. Playground is another. Betway is another. Accent Insurance Solutions is another. And of course, Eric Engels was brought to you by Allard AMO. Nearly 50 years, set the standard for HVAC service in Montreal. And once again, your chance to win a set of GT radial winter tires plus free installation at Point S Garage, a total of $1,000, all offered by Point S and GT radial. And once again, enter for a chance to win a new set installation value plus free installation, a value of $1,000. Scan the QR code right there. And go to the Sick Podcast Instagram page, like it and comment on the pinned post, and follow the Sick Podcast and Point S on Instagram. The contest ends on the 16th of November. Special thanks to everyone. Special thanks to all of you for listening and watching and being there on YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitter. If you like the podcast tonight, leave us a 5-star review. Tell your friends about it. Subscribe if you haven't already. And if they haven't, tell them to subscribe. It's absolutely free. Thanks to our sponsors, of course, who pay that fee for you. We appreciate it very much. We'll be back tomorrow night after the Montreal Canadiens and the Philadelphia Flyers. And I'll be joined by Pierre Maguire and Maxime Lapierre. Talk to you then. Ciao for now.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different. LaVie.tv, embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination.